Welcome to Morning Devotion with Ken Gurley. Devotions designed to inspire you on your daily walk with God. Here's your host, Ken Gurley.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Devotion. So happy that you are here this Monday morning, February the 20th. This is another day that the Lord has blessed us, that the Lord is going to be with us, and believing God for some great things today in this very moment. What a subject we have today. The wounded win. Yes, now that's something we normally wouldn't expect to hear, but that is the message of a glorious passage through the prophet Isaiah. God speaking to his bedraggled people. How's that? Bedraggled. That's a good word to describe a lot that we go through, just bedraggled people. God is speaking, and he gives them a word of encouragement that should be a word of encouragement to us today. So we welcome you here. This is the Morning Devotion family. We meet Monday through Friday, 7 Central, and I've got some big news. I got some big news, but I need to get a little farther into this process before I share this big news with you. So anyway, but some great news over the weekend. Wonderful reports of outpourings of the Spirit, of what we called yesterday the kiss of heaven. And wow. And just great things happening. And I pray that you're sensing the moving and the presence of the Almighty God. And we know that what this world needs, what we need as individuals, is not going to come from might and power. It's not going to come from intellect and hype and talent and charisma. It's going to come from the hand of the Lord. And this is a wonderful thought today that coincides with that. One of the curious things, let me just start it this way. Sandra, let me start it this way. LaWanda, I just want to start it this way. And one of the curious things noticeable about any great move of the Spirit, any great awakening, is that they usually begin with prayer. I say usually, but I really should say always begin with prayer. Always. And there's never been a great move of the Spirit. I mean, we like to focus on the day of Pentecost, but we forget the days of prayer in the upper room that led to that glorious experience. So they always begin with prayer. Now, hear me very carefully, because this is where I'm genuinely going to depart from our mindset. This is a huge departure from who we are as a people. We are in a situation, usually in prayer, that we are proclaiming, prophesying, professing, and there is nothing wrong with that. There is a segment of our prayer that should be exactly that. But we forget what really magnetizes that prayer meeting. What magnetizes that prayer meeting and what leads to an awakening is a curious phenomena. A curious phenomena. And I have to talk to you about that today, because I'm feeling the touch of heaven from yesterday. I think we ended up having a 10-hour prayer meeting yesterday, and it will continue this week. Everybody's finding their prayer tribe. We're not over-organizing and programming. Find your prayer tribe. Get your tribe in the prayer room, open 24/7, and let's continue this prayer, this emphasis, this kiss of heaven in our midst. I believe God is showing himself strong. But before I go into this curious phenomena that attracts God, that makes our prayers a magnet, I just want you to know, as you come on here each and every day, you guys mean the world to us. Thank you for being a part of this. And thank you for just sharing in this moment. It means something. And today we're just lifting up so many needs. So many needs. Please list them out to the side. Of course, we're standing with the Prieto family today, and many of you don't know them, but little Jamie, well, she was a grown adult in college, but Jamie has gone on to her reward. And we are praying for the Prieto family, Sanders family, and just lifting them up in prayer. And just believe that God's going to be near. Don't lurk. Don't stay in the shadows. Come out. Identify yourself. Okay, here we go. There is a curious phenomenon that brings an awakening that does not repel God from our prayers, but attracts God. And it touches me. And I was reading Isaiah 33 today, and it just hit me all over again. I thought, I've got to share this. I've just got to share this. It is a principle that deviates from our norms, not apostolic doctrine, lifestyle message, but the way we approach God. Isaiah 33, we have a city under siege. Jerusalem is under siege. I'll go into it more maybe in a moment. Wicked people had surrounded the city of God, and the true people of God were frightened. And God encouraged them. He said, the wicked, they're like a shipwrecked treasure ship. What a metaphor. He said, when I get through with them, it's going to be like a ship has just wrecked on the coast of your lives. There's going to be spoil and treasure and plunder. They will be so incapable of defending themselves that, here's King James. Here's the King James. He said that the lame will take the prey. That even the weakest among you will share in the plunder. Even those that, like the lame man at the pool of Bethesda, he could not get into the pool because he had no one to help him. But the Lord is saying, I'm going to make it so accessible to you that even the weakest among you will just step out and receive the plunder. The lame will take the prey. And that is the wounded who are going to win. The wounded will win. Yes. Here's a curious phenomenon. Now, in this world, there are no rewards for being lame. The lame lack the agility, the grace. But in God's world, the lame are always rewarded. In this life, we say, well, if a man is lame in his ability to read, he's disadvantaged. If a man is lamed in his ability to add, he's handicapped. If a woman is lame in her ability to remember and can't recall names, faces, then they're going to fall behind the pack. If a person is lame in any faculty in this world, they miss the prize. But God says, in my world, the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong. Here we go. Here is this curious phenomenon. Weakness has a fascination for God. When we are weak, we become strong because God steps in. Weakness, vulnerability, transparency, admitting our needs, it attracts God. It's a magnet for God. This is it. The wounded will win. He looked at the city of Jerusalem and he said, I'm about to turn the tables on this situation. It will be so profound that I see the lame within the city. I'm going to make this so profound, that the lame, the wounded will win. Yes. This is what fascinates me about every great move of God, is that they always emphasize weakness. They don't have the greatest preachers. They don't have the greatest facilities. They don't have the greatest singers. No, but they do have this one thing in common. When they pray, they don't stand proudly like the Pharisee in the temple, but they beat their chest, and they're miserable in their weakness, like the publican in the temple. And who left justified? Jesus asked. It's the one who was in touch with his own weakness. We like to pretend we're greater than we are. We like to pretend we've all got it together. But that repels God. That shuns God. God's not attracted to that. We go into our prayers and we walk around the prayer room braggadociously and boastingly, commanding this and commanding that. And there is a segment of our prayers that are like that. I know that God asks us to step out in faith. But no. Let me tell you what attracts God. It's that person that crumples in the corner and says, God, I made a mess of things. Lord, I don't know what to do. God, if you don't come through, God, I'm going down. I'm going down. I need you, God. It's not just the desperation of that attracts God. It's the admission of weakness. I can't tell you, Rachel, Janie, I can't tell you how many times this has been the case. And when you study, and I do, I'm looking over at some of my bookshelves right now, and I see 3 rows, 4 foot wide, 12 feet of books on the history of revivals. And this is something I study. This is something that interests me and intrigues me. And one thing you're going to notice again and again and again is that every great move of God begins with prayer. But very soon in that prayer, someone starts repenting. Someone starts confessing. Someone gets the courage to admit, I'm struggling. Wow. And when they say those words, the glory of God comes down. Why? It's a magnet for mercy. It's a mercy magnet when we admit we can't do it. Oh, that intrigues me. Isaiah said the lame take the prey. The wounded are going to win. When we step into a realm where we're saying, I'm not leaning on my own understanding, I'm trusting in you, O Lord, it's a magnet that draws the Lord into the situation. Cry out for mercy, and Jesus comes running. Oh my. Yesterday I talked about the father's kiss of the prodigal. You cry out for mercy, and he comes running. It's the kiss of heaven that says, I'm going to touch my people. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening, I believe, in our world today, is that heaven is kissing the earth. If we can open up our hearts and minds to realize that and to become vulnerable. The Lord said, Jerusalem, it may look terrible, but when I get through with these Amalekites and all these guys surrounding you, it's going to be like a ship washed up on your shore full of treasure, and you're just going to walk out and you're going to take everything that you need. Now, no enemy ship would have ever succeeded in attacking Jerusalem. I mean, goodness gracious, if you've been to Jerusalem, you know there is no water course leading to that city. No mighty gallant ship under sail could reach her. No, the Lord was going to protect Jerusalem. Enemy ships wouldn't attack because they couldn't attack. But that's the metaphor that God uses for the futility of what the enemy has designed against you. Listen to the imagery. Their riggings hang loose. Their masts are not secure. Their sails cannot spread, because God promises that after every unsuccessful attack, the spoil, the plunder, the fruit of the victory is going to be plentiful. The lame will take the prey. The wounded are going to win. I feel this with all of my heart today. I'm so thankful to be a part of the church. I'm thankful, not proud, thankful. I'm thankful to be a part of the holy city, Mount Zion, the mother of us all, the city of the living God. I'm thankful to be a part of that. I'm not disadvantaged. I'm not proud. I'm thankful to be a part of the church. Just as Jesus said, let us get into the boat and pass over to the other side. I know we may go through a storm, but we're going to get to the other side. That's the church. I'm in the church. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that the church is the place of our quiet habitation, builded together for a habitation of God through the Spirit. I'm thankful this is the place the Prince of Peace takes up residence. It's a quiet habitation. Thankful. I'm thankful for the peace. Jesus said, peace I leave with you. I'm thankful that the church is immovable, that everything around us may change. I'm thankful that I'm in the church, and there may not be a physical river that flows to Jerusalem, but there are unfathomable rivers of God's grace coming to us. No ravenous beast can enter on this highway of holiness. I'm thankful for all of this. But when the enemy attacks, as they did that day, I think I said the Amalekites, the Ammonites, the Moabites attacked that day. I want you to know what's going to be rewarded. Hear me carefully. Weakness will be rewarded. The lame will take the prey. When we just say, Lord, I need you, something powerful happens. I believe the prayer that gets God's attention is mercy. Have mercy on me, Lord. Have mercy on me. He knows the proud from afar off, from a distance, and that's where he keeps them. But he hangs out with the bunch that says, I need mercy. Look at the message of the Beatitudes in Matthew 5. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That just tells me the wounded are going to win. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. That tells me the wounded win. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Whoa. Oh, blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness. They shall be filled. The wounded are going to win. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. The wounded will win. In God's world, it's not the strong, and it's not the proud, and it's not the multi-talented that are exalted. Oh, they may be exhausted, but they're not exalted. It's those of a broken and a contrite heart that are rewarded. I could talk about Mephibosheth, who was lame but sat at the king's table daily. I could talk about the lame man at the gate beautiful. I could talk about the 4 lepers of Samaria. I could speak of the man with palsy or blind Bartimaeus. Yes. But let me just settle in on the one I've mentioned, the one at Bethesda. I have no man to help me. He had a need. He stayed at that pool because he had a need. He knew a need. He knew he needed help. He was willing to confess that he needed help. He was willing to accept that help. And then he was willing to give God praise. I used to think that all God had was on the top shelf. But I realize it's on the low shelf where the youngest and the weakest can get it. Oh, if I only had wealth, if I only had eloquence, if I only had a better looking, if I had a platform to speak from, if I had high social position. No, that's not how it happens. God shows grace to the weak and to the humble. There's not many wise, not many noble amongst us. Yes, God resists the proud, but shows kindness to the humble. In God's world, the wounded win. Oh, I feel the presence of the Lord in that. I feel the presence of the Lord. You will find when you study our apostolic history that those who made the greatest impact were the weakest amongst us. Parham was an awfully sick man. Yes, shared, battled with weaknesses. Seymour, marginalized, blind in one eye. Yes, those who admit they need God. I was listening the other day. I told the church about it yesterday, but let me say one other thing I didn't tell the church yesterday is I was listening. If you've read the book on prayer, you're going to see that I quote J. Edwin Orr. J. Edwin Orr is probably one of the greatest students of revival and awakening that ever lived. And he wrote about it, shared a lot of insights, and it was very fascinating. But he was scheduled to preach on spiritual awakenings in a conference that was emphasizing that. And he got up and said, the Lord gave me this message, and I just have to preach it. And he called it Revival is Judgment Day. That when the Spirit of the Lord starts moving, we are judged. We are convicted. We have to respond. And we see ourselves. And what we will do with that image that we see makes all the difference in all that God can do. He began to talk about, right at the very beginning, he was a great speaker. He began to talk about Dwight Moody and how Moody never wanted to go and speak at a college or university because Moody couldn't spell. He was a terrible speller. And now, if you read any book by Moody today, somebody did a lot of correcting because the man couldn't spell. And he always felt insufficient for the task. And I wonder, is that what causes the miracles of God? When we feel insufficient for the task. That feeling of weakness, the wounded win. Of course, the ultimate example is Calvary. Calvary is the ultimate example of the one who was wounded but led captivity captive, spoiled the enemy, took the keys of death and grave. Sometimes God weakens us. Who is this coming up out of the wilderness, leaning on the arm of her beloved? Sometimes it's the weakness that attracts God. So rather than being pseudo-strong, fake strong, acting like you've got it all together, just go ahead and admit, I need you. That's the beginning. That's the beginning of the greatest awakening you'll ever experience, is when you admit you need him more than anything else. Well, I feel the presence of the Lord. Just lift him up today. Again, I encourage you, those of you in First Church, the prayer room is open 24/7. Find your tribe. Get with a group of people. Don't come alone. Get a friend. Get your small group. Get your family. Commit and watch God move in your life. God bless you. Thank you for being a part of us this Monday. You are the best. Look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. May God be with you.
Thank you for listening to Morning Devotion with Ken Gurley. Join us next time for another inspiring devotion. To support this ministry, please visit firstchurch.com/give.